And welcome Monday. Another week in the Sports Cage, the All New SportsCage. It is Barney Shynkaruk. I'm here for the next hour solo. Well, I got the double C's here with me, Colson and Curtis. What are you shaking your head? You're not here? You're not with us today? Curtis, a little bit off to start this Monday, I'll tell you that. Colson's with us. And then starting at 4 o'clock, all you Ryan Pollock fans, he's going to be co-hosting with me, a little RP action. And we got a show for you. We're all over the map here today. We got a lot. We got Regina Thunder, Saskatoon Hilltops. You know what? If I was allowed to sprinkle on this game, I would have hammered, so to speak, the Thunder. I don't know why. We were talking off camera and off mic last week. I think it was Dave Thomas and I, Colson, you were involved. There's a few of us, and I was just like, they beat them twice, and they're just going to game plan it, and it's one of those games where you know that the team that lost twice is going to pull it out. Thunder over the Toppers on the weekend. Yesterday, 24-19. It means the Regina Thunder host the Okanagan Sun in the national semifinal, 1 p.m. Sunday, Leibel Field. Scott MacAulay, head coach of the Thunder, going to join us in moments. Curious on what the game plan was, if it went as planned, if they had to switch things up. Get into that with Scott MacAulay. Dave Thomas, Rider bye week, is almost done. For the sounds of things, too, not a lot of guys skipped town. They hung around. Dave Thomas had a story on that at sportscage.com. You can go and check it out, and we'll also talk to Dave about that here in the first hour. Hour 2, hockey. Eric Francis, our NHL insider for Southie Mainline Chrysler. They have an outfit in Rosetown as well. Eric Francis, we're going to talk NHL with him. A number of things I want to get to. If anyone out there has watched that Prime on the NHL, what's it called? NHL Face-Off or something like that on Prime. I watched it on the airplane. I watched for 5 hours yesterday, the whole thing. It is good. If you like behind the scenes of anything sports, this is the NHL one. When I had Brandon in co-hosting a couple weeks ago, he was talking about it because the clip that was going around was Connor McDavid flipping out in the postseason.
Face-off inside the NHL?
Face-off inside the NHL. Yeah, it is really good. So Eric hasn't seen it. I want to talk to him about it, though. We're going to talk some other things NHL with him. Jeremy O'Day is joining us on the Coaches Show, which happens on Monday. So if you have any questions, I'm going to try this. For Jeremy O'Day, Capital Ford Lincoln text line 936-6262. Saskatchewan's number one Ford retailer, Capital Ford Lincoln. If they're radio worthy, we will ask J.O. your questions, so fire those in. We have in hour 3 Darian Durant and some more hockey news. We'll run down. There's something big coming down in the SJHL here momentarily. The official release hasn't come down. Colson, you're going to keep an eye on that if we can. It's somewhat big news affecting the Yorkton Terriers in the SJHL. Something I haven't heard of in a while, too, a team doing this. So as soon as it's released, then we'll throw it out there. So that's the show. It's busy. The next 3 hours. The show is for Kellen Solar in Lumsden. If you need to move water from a dugout or anything like that, and you don't want to run the electrical and all that, then you do it with solar. And Kellen Solar are the guys and girls that can get that done for you. They are in Lumsden, Saskatchewan, 35 years of experience in moving water from a dugout or well without electricity. They also install solar, residential, commercial, anything you have. Kellen Solar, they're also in our auction. We got to keep an eye on this. It is the last day for the Harvard Media Radio auction. What's the website, Colson? I know you had it. Did you? Is it harvardmediaauctions.com? Something simple like that?
Something like that.
There are a number. We're going to run down a number of things. But Kellen Solar, they have a couple of items in there. These, if any livestock guys or girls out there listening, you want to get in on that, harvardauctions.com.
HarvardMediaAuctions.com.
HarvardMediaAuctions.com. There are some great deals. We'll run down some of those as the show goes. We're waiting for Scott MacAulay to hop on here, but I see that Dave Thomas is already joined. Could we just bring Dave in? Dave doesn't look like he's doing anything.
Sure,
Dave's
we
having
can
a
bring Dave
relaxing Monday at home, because it was your off week too, kind of, right, Dave? For the last week. Curtis is giving me the second. Hold on, we gotta wait. We gotta fire up the other generator to bring you in. There you are. There you are.
Yeah, we're here.
We've been around the hilltops for a long time. Working in Saskatoon, we know the Thunder doing some cool things. I've been here 17 years now. And then just talking with Murad, what was that, about a month ago? And the program that the Thunder have behind the curtain. Like, they get that behind the curtain look. And, these guys, they get their schooling and whatever they want to do, and they're taken care of. Nice to see the Thunder pull after dropping 2 games to the Hilltops regular season. But it was one of those things, right, where it's like, just because they lost twice, they're right there, and they're a good football team, and bingo, bango. You had a chance to watch the game?
Yeah, I took the game in, 25th anniversary season for the Regina Thunder, and full marks all the way around. They absolutely were dominant from the opening kickoff all the way through. They faced some adversity with some interesting spots of the football, with a fumble here, and like I said, they made a huge goal line stand to turn the ball over on the Hilltops. So well done to the Regina Thunder. Again, like I said, just a dominant performance worthy of a PFC championship.
Yeah, they, obviously well deserving. And the Hilltops, when you think about it, how many wins was it in a row that the Hilltops are rolling on?
Well, they had 8 through the course of the regular season, and I think it dates back to last year as well. So they'd been unbeaten for a while. Of course, 23-time national championship. Tom Sargent always has his team ready to go, and just yesterday they were out-muscled along the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. I'm really curious to, like I said, talk to Scott MacAulay, kind of find out what they gave. You guys talked to him last week, I know, but where did they pivot? Did they make any adjustments on the fly? Did things go as planned? Did things go better than they thought? You never know. It was a great day for football. The rider piece that you had, also SportsCage.com, I think you had it on social media. Did none of the riders leave town for the bye week, or is it just a few, or what's the deal there?
I don't think many did, and if they did, they came back early because head coach Corey Mace kind of wanted the team to stay close, right? They've got a lot of momentum going in the season, so I know that the players were out around the province actually doing some great work in Saskatoon and Swift Current and Moose Jaw, just to name a few, but they are dialed in. They're dialed in, and they've got a real opportunity with a group that is very close-knit, and again, if they can keep this thing rolling, which is the plan going forward, right, then why would you go ahead and take a huge break when you don't have to?
Yeah, it's an interesting, like I said last week, it's an interesting time for the bye week, right? Like you don't really see that in the NFL or the CFL, where something's so late to pick it up. This week, though, what do you make of Vernon Adams and his performance for the Lions?
Wow. And, going back to why didn't he play against Saskatchewan, it was simple. Apparently, Rick Campbell did not want him to go into a football game without many reps. He did that earlier in the season against Toronto, so he wanted to have him ready to go, and boy, was he ever. And the one thing are the nonverbal cues. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can see the athlete's eyes, or sometimes you're just understanding and watching the high fives on the bench, or just as simple as how players celebrate one another in their achievement, right? And again, I know it sounds really deep, but again, when a big play was made, that Lions bench really had a lot of energy and a lot of emotion, something that we didn't see a couple of weeks ago. So, boy, if there's a divided locker room, I know Farhan Lalji has said, no, there's not.
Yeah.
But others would say maybe there is something there, and it's an interesting piece moving forward. But for Rick Campbell and the BC Lions, all they're concerned about is the next game and what are they going to do. And they've already announced there's going to be Vernon Adams Jr.
What is he? He was 26 of 36, 385 yards, 2 tutties, 2 picks. He also ran for 39 yards. So I didn't watch the game. I was down in Music City. Saw the stat line, and right away I'm like, probably, is it the worst thing that could have happened to the BC Lions or the best thing?
Well, that's funny. We were sitting around talking about the game, and if you're Rick Campbell, how are your emotions right now as the co-general manager who made the move to sign Nathan Rourke to bring him back, right? So are you thinking, okay, we're going to be okay. We'll get ourselves sailing into the playoffs. We'll make a run hosting the Grey Cup game at home. We've got a real good chance. Or are you like, oh, what the heck did I do? You know, like you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't in that.
Probably some cause for concern on the Montreal Alouettes side as well. When you look at, because just the stat line there, Fajardo 7-9 for 67 yards. And then Davis Alexander was 11 for 16 for 67 yards. So not really stellar performances on their part. And they scored 3 points.
No, well, they never win in BC, though, either. That's the one thing, right? That's the longest road trip in the entire Canadian Football League, and that's a grind for the teams going from east to west. So I get that, but you're right. There are question marks, and Jason Moss, the head coach, says, we want to fight and we want to go into the playoffs on a strong note. Of course, they know they're going to get a bye in 2 weeks, but they have to face Winnipeg this weekend, and it's anybody's guess what you're going to get, because you've got to walk that tightrope, right, between preparing your team so that you're executing at a high level and your peak performance going into playoffs, but also you don't want to do it to the expense of someone perhaps getting injured. And that's the fine tightrope that you've got to walk if you're the Montreal Alouettes or any of the playoff teams that have already solidified a spot this week.
And I think so many people will be divided on that to say, no, you got to play. You got to keep them playing into the postseason, keep them fresh, keep them, keep the rust off. And then the other side is going to be like, well, yeah, but do you remember when so-and-so blew out his knee or separated his shoulder or did whatever? So it is. It's like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'm very intrigued on that Winnipeg-Montreal game now, Saturday afternoon. And it's before the Rider game. So it's a good watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, right? And do you change your game plan for the what-ifs? If you're the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I don't imagine you can change much, right? But if all of a sudden the game means first place is on the line, we're going to play our starters a little longer than anticipated? Or if all of a sudden, you know what, Winnipeg was able to pull it out, Shea Patterson, do you get the start, right? Those are opportunities going on there. You got a meal being served up behind you, Barney, or what's going on there?
I don't know. It's like Curtis. Curtis, I feel like, it's like one of those old canteens in the old Western movies that my mom watches. It's something like that.
Got a couple of sarsaparillas happening, or what?
Scott MacAulay is coming in. He's into the feeder, but let's take a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to talk to the head coach of the PFC champion, Regina Thunder. It's the All New SportsCage. Watching the stream, sportscage.com, and as always, we're on 620 CKRM. Welcome back. It's for Kellen Solar on this Monday. It's Barney Shynkaruk. We're going to keep Dave Thomas around. Heck, why not? He's been in Saskatoon long enough. Now he's down here. He knows the rub on this. He interviewed Scott last week. I got to watch that interview when I was away. He's on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Generous amount of toppings on all their pizzas, plus all the Greek food you like. Western Pizza. They are a big sponsor, too, of the Regina Thunder. How fitting. Scott MacAulay, congratulations. Was it, you look pretty spry. You look pretty good for day after a championship victory.
Yeah, I was saying last night, I can't believe I got to work this morning. It was about, it was getting pretty late there for a while, and we had to shut her down. So it was a slow start to the day, but now we're ramping up.
Yeah. Can you put it in perspective yet? What you guys did. Obviously, you talked to Dave and Maz last week. You're right there. It's not like David versus Goliath. You were right there. But, how do you put it into words? Who do you, is it the coaching staff or the kids, or, who does this one hang on?
I think it definitely hangs on the players. I felt, or we felt that, the last 2 times we played the Hilltops, we should have gave a better showing. We kind of mentally beat ourselves as the game sort of progressed. And that was kind of the biggest thing going into this game here is like, one, after the last game, like if we would continue to play like, the sort of systems and stuff we already were, like we'd be crazy. So we wanted to really do a deep dive into like, like where are our assets on offense, defense, and special teams, and then, try to put those players into like good situations, and running the balls, something we thought that we could do extremely well. And, we worked incredibly hard on that for the last 3 weeks. And then the other part too was making sure that, our players got in their own heads, right? They believed in themselves, and that has been something we've been working on and adding that secret sauce to the mix here for the last couple of weeks, and it all worked out.
Coach, you really undersold your defense a little bit going into the football game, saying, we know that the Hilltops have a high-octane offense, and, boy, could you have envisioned the dominance that, I'll use that word, that they came out with, especially in that opening quarter?
Well, that's the whole thing we're calling them on all week. It didn't matter what happened. We had to make sure, like, the first drive of the first half or the first drive of the second half, we wanted to make sure that we were able to get the ball back in our offensive hands. And again, you start running the ball, you can run the clock down, and we keep them off the field as much as we possibly could. But, the defense was outstanding at the start of the game. I was looking at the stats here, like, they only had, I think it was about, 54 yards rushing wrong team. They only had 102 yards in the first half.
Yeah.
But the second half, they definitely pushed us to our limits and stuff. They had about 350 yards, so they definitely made some changes, and our guys started to wake up a little bit. Now that maybe you can kind of shed some light, did the game plan did everything go as planned? Or did you guys have to pivot early? Because that always happens in football, right? It's like, okay, we're scrapping that. We're gonna do this now. Or did everything go as planned, Scott? Everything went as planned, to be honest. The only thing, we made it way harder on ourselves than we needed to. We had some missed field goals. It definitely would have helped. We also had an interception, but then the very next play we fumbled right back to the Hilltops. I mean, those things are going to happen, and the team that started to ride those waves or the ups and downs is going to be the one that succeeds. But I couldn't believe it. I'm like, okay, we got an interception, easily kick a field goal at minimum, or score a touchdown. Next, we fumble it. Definitely don't like making things easier on ourselves.
Coach, back on Friday, if I said to you, you know what, you're only going to get 10 passing yards in the second half, what would you have thought about that? I would never even remotely thought that we'd be that way at all, but that was part of the game plan, and, we were going to run to be able to throw the ball, but that time too, we want to keep on trying to, run the clock down, things like that. But yeah, 10 yards, I'd say you're an insane person right there, and there's no way that in that Canadian game you're only going to throw for 10 yards. And the fact that you actually said that, I haven't really deep dived into the stats yet, but I just know we didn't throw very much.
It's like you would think that it was a blizzard and it was 80K winds, if that was, which happens in Saskatchewan, so it wouldn't be that, but it was, the weather was far from that. That kind of two-headed monster in the backfield that you guys have. It's funny because it's something that, Dave, we talk about, that people message in all the time about the Riders. It's like, why do they just run both of them? And a little bit different because you got ratios and all that. But for you, Scott, to have two running backs that can get the job done like that, wow, talk about bonus country. Yeah, no, it's outstanding. It allows us to kind of spell each other off or play off each of their sort of key, features that makes them so good. But there's actually a third person that's been in the mix, and that's been the fullback, and that's been a blessing. I don't know the last time we really played with the fullback, but we got a guy that likes to hit guys and drive them into the ground, and he's the guy that's sort of leading those two guys quite a bit. But yeah, having Sadiq and also Likert is huge, and it. In some ways they're similar backs, but in other ways they're not. Likert's more your north-south kind of power back, and Sadiq, I guess, you could be more your scat back, but the thing is, he's not. He's to try to run people over, hit the holes. Who's the fullback? Let's give a shout-out. Who's that? His name is Connor Allen. He came to us as a linebacker out of Martin, and then we quickly realized, after about a year's time, that he might be a better fullback, and he went over there, and he's been outstanding, and maybe it makes me look good. I kind of made the right decision there, so I appreciate that by him. But he's phenomenal. He's almost like a 6 offensive lineman out there, and he's a gritty dude. That's all I know. Well, he's got good genetics. His mom's from Weyburn, so there you go. But in saying all of that,
The run of the game, I thought, was actually by a linebacker on that fake punt. I've never seen a linebacker run that fast, scared for his life, wanting to make sure he got it. Gutsy call, but I thought it definitely flipped momentum into your favor.
Yeah, like we felt like at that kind of point that we need a little bit more of a spark. We're starting to flutter a little bit. And, it was Stefan Anson's like, hey, you got something in your pocket for a fake? I'm like, yep. And I just called it right there and then. And we're off to the races and got that first down. So it was huge.
So it's funny. I love telling my Okanagan coming to play the Hilltops at one time at Gordie Howe Bowl back before they had turf, and they scraped all the grass off the field. I was covering it for Global, and all these kids from Okanagan show up, and it's like we're playing on a parking lot. We're basically playing on a parking lot. It's not going to be like that at Leibel Field. I'm not sure in the forecast what it looks like for Sunday, but I'm sure it won't be that bad. How does the week go for you now, Scott, and your coaching staff? Like, are you trying to rifle tape? Do you already have tape on these guys? Have you started to kind of pre-plan?
Yeah, actually, I was just doing a huddle exchange with our coach, like, as we're kind of talking here. It's finalized. We have all our films. What we'll do is we'll get to our clubhouse here today at 5:30 as coaches and stuff, and they'll be there right away breaking down film. But we'll meet as coaching staff at 5:30. Players will show up at 6, do a little bit of a injury assessment rundown. We're going to keep film short tonight with maybe about like 10-15 clips of the Hilltop film, and then send all the guys home, let them rest up, and then our coaches will dive into the Sun film and try to get a jump on it because we'll be back full go on Wednesday.
So exciting for you guys. What a week it's going to be, right? Soak it all in. Do you know much about Okanagan yet? Or
yeah, we know a little bit just from watching some of the film. Like, they got a really great running back. Apparently he was supposedly went to Boise State and actually played. Got some reps and stuff, and then whatever happened, and now he's in Okanagan. But just from watching him, like, he's extremely fast, shifty guy. That's someone that they're definitely be relying on. And quarterback wise, like, I was just checking out some of their film or like online stuff last night, and they got some young quarterback that's slinging the ball pretty darn good. So I'm expecting them to have a pretty powerful offense, and then even on defense. Looks like they got some ball hawks there at DB that are able to turn the ball over. So it's going to be a great contest, and they had our number 2 years ago. And I think there's a lot of guys, including myself, that are happy to get another opportunity to play them.
I know film study and preparation obviously is what you base a week on, Coach, but do you have to rely on instinct a little bit more when you have an unfamiliar opponent?
Yeah, I mean, like, you got to make sure that, like, you're good at doing what you do, and your opponent, like, sometimes you'll make some of those adjustments and stuff based off the film, but really, like, they're playing on grass. The film is, like, from different angles than what we're used to, like a drone film, things like that. And I don't know if you can get a real good taste for what it's really all about, but from us playing them 2 years ago, we know that they have great athletes and they're going to be a great team and they're well coached, and so we have to prepare that it's going to be that way and make sure that we get that mindset right this year and take advantage of it.
Right on. Well, you, I'm sure need some rest tonight too. Here over the next little bit, then you guys start to fire it, like you said. I just looked forecast on Sunday. It could be a little colder, boys, for these guys from the Okanagan rolling in here with their tans. It's going to be 15. So nice weather for them anyway. And if he went to Boise State, he probably was going to be behind Ashton Genty or whatever his name is. So it's good that he probably didn't go that route. So very curious to see this guy on Sunday. It's gonna be packed too. Like, that's like Leibel should be just buzzing, right, Scott?
Yeah, that's why we're excited to go there. Like, we went there and counted the seats today. There's 1,050 seats, and then you got your berm seating. So I think what the plan of action is sell, like, the nice little chairs in the middle for a certain price, and then the bleacher sort of seats for a certain price, and then you got your berm, standing room only seats as well. So we're hoping to get about 1,300 people there, and it'll be packed, it'll be loud, and tickets will go on sale on Thursday, I guess, and we'll see what happens.
Dave, I smell some sort of SportsCage tailgate before. Maybe you can make that fancy chili. You've been talking about chili on a bun. Okay, Scott, best of luck. Maybe we'll catch up with you later this week. I appreciate you doing this. Congratulations. It's awesome.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Hopefully we talk again later in the week.
Yeah, right on. Head coach of the victorious Regina Thunder, Scott MacAulay, they're getting ready for the Okanagan Golden Sun. They still called that?
Yeah. They're the Suns. I think they took the golden part
Suns,
out,
yeah.
but you'll recall that Okanagan game up in Saskatoon. You remember the running back, right?
Who was it? Was it?
Well, I was thinking Andrew Harris, but Andrew Harris played for. Did he play for the South Shore? Or did he play Okanagan?
Oh,
One of the two. He came
I
in
don't
and he ran for like 275 against the Hilltops that afternoon. That he played them in the game.
Well,
I think
feel
it was
like
Okanagan.
There was more than one time that the Okanagan had to come in to Gordie Howe Bowl and it seemed to happen like back-to-back years. I know it wasn't. But was it? So Andrew Harris would have played Eastman Raiders. See, it doesn't say anything about Okanagan.
Yeah, he played out in the B. That's how he ended up in Vancouver, right, with the BC Lions, because he was a territorial exemption, essentially.
Yeah.
But the best one was when London. Do you remember the year that London came in to play the Saskatoon Hilltops, and they had no idea what the weather was going to be? And, of course, they hadn't flown all year. So they fly in, and they didn't pack any winter gear. So they took all of those, the really gross, like, covers that are on beds, like not the blankets, but like the actual comforters. They stole them all from the hotel, and they were wearing those flowered comforters on the sidelines trying to keep warm.
I think that does ring a bell now. Yeah. See, 15 degrees. It's going to be an awesome afternoon to watch football. Like, for sure, Libel needs to be packed. But, yeah, I wouldn't be totally opposed to it being a little more Sasky on the weather side. Who knows? Anything can change. This running back sounds interesting, though.
Elion Noah is his name.
Elion Noah?
Yeah. Went to Utah State in 2020 and 2021 and Boise in 2022.
Did he play?
Yeah, he played.
Wow.
Doesn't seem like he played too much, but I'm just trying to read his stats here. 200 career attempts, 800 career yards over 3 years. So he got time. Not very much. But
yeah, it'll be very interesting all the way around. There's no doubt about it. 1 o'clock kickoff Sunday, Libel Field in Regina, the Thunder and the Okanagan Sun. Oh, and then so that's the semifinal though. Then there's a national. Where's the national final? Is it who's hosting it?
I don't know if there's a host site yet. I think it wins. So I think it was left in Ontario.
It goes out east.
Yeah, they go out east.
Well, that's too bad. That would have been fantastic to see that around these parts.
That's too bad. Barney's just completely not up for a roadie. Hey, if it's not south, you're not going.
Well, depends. Like even to get into Libel for me from the north there with that train, sometimes it's an absolute battle. Hey, let's get back into the Rider talk here. Let's take a quick break, and then you'll hang on for one more segment. Dave, it's the All New SportsCage on the home of football in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Yeah, we want you to text in, especially because we have Jeremy O'Day coming on the Coach's Show in hour 2. If you have any questions for Mr. O'Day, you can let us know on that, and if they're radio worthy, right? If you're going to be an absolute pigeon,
True.
And send in stuff that you would write on from your burner account, we're definitely not reading it. So, I'm curious. I hope I know he's super guarded, right? And he has to be. And you got to worry about what you say. And all that. I really want to delve into. Like, how hard was it to find offensive linemen this year?
Yeah. And the other thing is that really, is there anything that he's done this season that hasn't worked out, right? You find 13 offensive linemen, but then what about quarterback Trevor Harris? Like, I would put money down that he's the best quarterback in the Canadian Football League right now.
I would put that.
It was a gamble, right?
I would put some money down with you on that. Barry's texting in. I don't think this is for J.O. It's just a question. Can you tell me if Trevor Harris is signed through next year, or is he a free agent at the end of this season? He's got one more, doesn't he?
I thought his deal was done at the end of the year. I could be wrong, though. So that might be a question for Jeremy O'Day.
A good question for Jeremy O'Day. Well, isn't there's like some sort of, at the end of the season, they're all free agents if they want to go to the NFL? Not that Harris is going to go to the NFL, but maybe the New York Jets could use him at this point. Talk about finger pointing. And hey, if you're a Jets fan out there, sorry, but I don't know. Like, Cowboy fan versus Jet fan, who's more depressed these days? Like Vernon Adams. Who did they? Davante Adams.
Davante Adams. Yeah.
I watched this meme on social media yesterday. It was so funny. It was like, here's the highlights of Davante Adams with the New York Jets, and it's basically him with powerful music running out of the tunnel and then making a tackle on an interception, and then the end. It was well done.
I saw something posted about, he's had a pretty good week. Got beat by the Steelers, got traded, got beat by the Steelers.
Yeah, what's going on with now Russell Wilson, right? Like, there are he's serviceable. He can make things happen. He showed it last night, but the only thing is this, I've never been a Steelers fan, but I respect the heck out of the Steelers. And what Tomlin's done as a coach for however long, like, how can you not respect him? So is Russell Wilson gets some new life with the Pittsburgh Steelers now?
Did you see him post-game, him being head coach Mike Tomlin? He was asked about, did you think that Russell Wilson was going to be this good? And he looks right at the guy and he goes, I get compensated well. And that was it. I'm like, that's awesome, because you know what? You're paid the money to make the decisions, and he made a right one there.
I am, very curious on where it goes. I don't think the Jets, I haven't looked at their schedule here. Let's pull it up here quick, because I don't think that things get a lot easier for Jet fans. Well, yeah, you do play the Patriots, so okay, that's a victory. I'll concede that one. Good on you, Jet fans. Should be. It's in New England, though. They're coming back from London, and they looked awful. Like that New England Jacksonville game, that should be punishment for somebody to have I got up and watched it for a bit in the morning, and I was like, this is awful. Like, this is an awful. And there's Wembley Stadium's going bonkers, and everyone's just loving it over there. It's like, these poor Brits, they don't deserve this. Two bad football teams going at it here. Then they have the Texans on Halloween night, Thursday, October 31st. Then they are at the Cards. It's a tough win in the desert. Kyler Murray doing weird things. Then the Colts come to the Jets, so that could be a victory. Then the Seahawks are at the Jets. Then the Jets at the Dolphins. So maybe it's not as difficult for the next few games. Then they have the Jags. Then the Rams come to them. Then they're at the Bills. Then they're at the Dolphins. Actually, they can go on a run here. So Jet fans, keep your head,
keep your chin up,
heads up, just a little bit, But yeah, I just now I don't know what to think about Pittsburgh. Like, I'm curious to talk to Arash Madani tomorrow and be like, what's going on in the league?
Well, as a Cowboys fan over here, nothing good.
I didn't know that you're a Cowboys fan. I know Sharky is.
Yeah. Oh, and Luke and I, we hang in despair as well, because Luke's right up there with me. So,
and you guys,
it's been a long couple of weeks.
You got to go to San Francisco, which I have no idea what to think about San Francisco. While we're on the NFL topic, I don't know if I have it here. Oh, I didn't save it. There was like some crazy stat on Patrick Mahomes yesterday, like how awful his numbers were, and they're 6-0.
Still gets the win. I know, it was incredible, and it's just like, wow, like, you can't coach confidence, right?
Yeah, that you got mojo, right? If you got mojo, it's like when you're golfing. Not that I have it that often when I'm golfing, but you just know when guys are in the zone. and they're stepping up and they're hitting it everywhere and they're just making it happen. So that was I took the Niners too. I thought they were due. Bad bet by old Barry over here. Hamilton, Ottawa, Toronto, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Montreal, Calgary, Saskatchewan this week in the CFL. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I'd love to know what Montreal is thinking. Like,
I don't say panic button, but I'd say concerned button for sure. Again, they haven't played all their starters, but they haven't rested everyone either. So I don't know. I really think that Montreal has to go ahead and play a solid, at least opening half before resting guys this weekend. But again, it's the whole rest versus rust, right? Like, what is the argument? And there's people paid way more than me to make that decision because I don't know exactly what the answer is.
This Toronto-Edmonton game, because Toronto's probably going to be sitting guys, and Edmonton is in the Who Cares Cup. I'm curious to see how many people are at the stadium for this game.
Well, Edmonton's an interesting read, right? Like, again, they need to show some signs because all indications are there's going to be a president named soon in Edmonton, and the president is going to oversee everything, including, of course, the football operations. And so what are you going to do? And you never get a chance to make you never get a second chance to make a first impression, but a lasting impression sometimes can be just as valuable as your first, right?
Yeah, I've totally been killed on that motto in my life before. The whole second chance to make a first impression. It's like, no, I really can't. There's no turning back now. What is this? We got Travis from Regina. He's in the know here. PFC hosts the national championship next year. So
next year, yes.
Yeah.
Next year, and this year it will actually be played in either London or Windsor because the London Beefeaters are taking on the St. Clair Saints in the OFC championship game coming up this Saturday.
Is the London the team that came to Saskatoon and bought blankets?
Yeah, the London Beefeaters, you bet.
Or Afghans. Or blankets, or comforters. Yeah, that was so funny. That was so, like, there was, and people don't get it, but you get it here from Sasky. Just when the Hilltops would make any sort of semifinal or final, and these teams had to come to Gordie Howe Bowl, and usually now, like, let's be honest, the weather has changed. If you ask me, like, I could be golfing today. Back 15 years ago, I don't think I'd be golfing late October with this nice weather. But it used to be always cold and ugly. And if you've ever pictured Gordie Howe Bowl, you never knew if there was going to be grass on the field, if it was going to be mud, pockets of grass and mud. And then these teams would roll in, like Dave said in the last segment, so unprepared. Footwear to everything.
Well, don't forget, all high school football was played on that, right? So there'd be 6 games a week prior to that. Then they would scrape the field, roll the field to try to get some of the turf marks out, and then hope for the best.
It was.
But whoever made the grass in that facility every spring, because it was always sensational come summer. So whoever resaw it or whatever they did, they need a medal because that was great grass at the start of the year.
It was really good until the end of September.
Yeah,
it was dynamite.
Sure.
And then, then it was kind of weather dependent, right? Like there's nothing you can do. What do you leave the snow on the field? No, you got to get the snow off. Maybe there would have been more of a effective way to get the snow off than taking off all the grass as well. But then, hey, what do you do? Like it's what they needed there. You know what they needed? Like Green Bay. And I know they would blow the budget and they wouldn't have enough money. They just needed a heated field, and you just throw the heaters on.
Yeah.
And then let the snow melt or whatever. But I don't think there's I don't think there's any fields in the CFL that are heated. I thought I heard that once before. So when it gets cold, you are like most NFL fields are heated.
Yeah, you know what? BMO Field in Toronto might be because the Toronto FC can play games like really late, right? But that would be the only one. But the fun fact for you, formerly Gordie Howe Bowl, of course, Saskatoon Minor Football Field now. Did you know that that is the largest piece of turf in North America? They have got more turf on that field, again, square footage wise, because they went ahead and they built out the sidelines and the end zones to allow for more flag football. So it is the largest turfed field in North America.
Really?
There you go. Yeah.
What was the price tag on that?
I didn't pay for it. I'm just telling you about it.
Well, I thought you got those little tidbits. You never know what else you got up your sleeve, Dave.
Well, I can tell you that when they laid the field, I know that there's some autographs underneath it.
Ooh. Yours?
Yeah,
Les
no,
Lazarus?
not mine. No. But they had the two of us don't have the physique to roll out that stuff, man. But they had some former players and volunteers go ahead, and I know that they signed underneath the turf in some spots.
Oh, what a good story. Informational program here. An hour in to the SportsCage. Okay, awesome. Back at practice tomorrow. We'll catch up with you then. I'm sure we'll get some good audio and all that. And how you get 2 Monday nighters to watch tonight?
I know. One won't be worth it.
Which one?
You know the one.
Baltimore, Tampa Bay?
No, that's going to be a good one. They're both 4-2.
Chargers, Arizona as a sleeper?
Chargers, Arizona. I don't like that one. Kyler Murray always blows it for me whenever I sit down to watch his games.
Take the tie. All right. Let's go. Talk to you tomorrow, Luke. Or Luke. Dave. Jeez. All over the map. No, I got Luke on this paper here. That's why. Okay. I'm going back. Going back for break time. Talk to Dave tomorrow. It's the All New SportsCage. If you're watching the stream, sportscage.com. And as always, we're on 620 CKRM. Hour 2 of the thrilling program here on this Monday for Kellen Solar.
Riveting.
Riveting? Is that your new word of the week?
Yeah.
It was thrilling the last 2. Now we're going riveting. Okay. Riveting program. Ryan Pollock joining me for the next 2 hours here. It's been a few. You've been busy, though, shutting down a golf course, right?
Yeah, work's got in the way for sure, but I'm coming in with the mojo here, ready to go, bringing the heat.
Keniston Super Draft. We're going to be talking about this for the next couple of weeks. Is coming up. The entry deadline is November 1st. Now, this is the draft. You want to load up. You want to get a few buddies or your splurge club or whatever you people do out there nowadays, and you want to get in on this because you got a chance to win $20,000 large. That is first prize. I'm showing it. If you're watching the stream, I'm showing up the sheet right now. We're going to be filling this out as we go along. So the super bonus, you can get 7 drafts. So if you go in with some buddies and say, hey, let's just do 7, it's $200
For all 7?
for 7
That's a steal.
drafts. But then, so you got the boxes to pick off, guys, and then this little add-in thing at the bottom. So I like to, the week right before, maybe a few days before, I look at, okay, the write-in guys are key.
Take who's hot, for sure.
Yeah, or the guy that no one thought about that's been playing over in Belarus for the last 3 years. No one's heard of him, and he's getting a bunch of points. That's what is the thing. So anyways, Keniston Super Draft. We're waiting for Eric Francis here. Is he on or is he frozen? There he is. Okay, he just looks
Stoic.
like stoic. Yeah, let's go.
It's time to talk hockey on the All New SportsCage with NHL analyst Eric Francis. Brought to you by South A Mainline, the Mainline Automotive Group's newest king of trucks. South A Mainline, just 30 minutes north of Regina. Worth the drive every time, guaranteed.
Wow, yeah, you could be one of those guys in Vegas. Are they mimes? They just hang out on like a statue on the strip, and people wouldn't
They get me every time.
It's like, oh, that looks like Eric Francis. It is. No, it's a whack. No, it's really him. It's really him. Nice. This is our first time talking, I think, since last year when you did this. Always nice to talk to a fellow picture of golf course guy on social media. So, how was the season for swinging the clubs, though? I didn't catch up. Like, what did your handicap go up or down, or how was it?
Stays the same, man. Like, mine's been frozen. Speaking of frozen, mine's been like the same. I've been stuck at a 5 for 10, 12 years. But what I find is the disparity now. Like, I used to go out and shoot 77, 78 pretty much all the time. Like, with it, but now it's 72, 85. I had a 68 this year, and I think the next round I was 85. Like, it's schizophrenic. It's all over the place, you know. But I still love it, and I still keep coming back. And I clean the clubs up because we're done. It's snowing in Calgary right now. Right, it was 18 degrees yesterday. Now it's snowing, so we're officially done for the year. And I can say it was a fun year. How about you?
I started out hot, and then the middle just leaked oil. That's usually the story of my just leak oil from that July, August into that. I actually flew back from Calgary last night, and some lady got on the flight to Saskatoon that came from Grand Prairie. She was talking about how much snow and ice and everything that there was up there. So it is that time of the year where we can get a little bit of everything. The one thing RP, you and I were talking about this, and Eric hasn't watched it, but traveling all weekend, I watched all the episodes of the NHL Face-Off. Is that what it's called, Colson, again? Sorry, on Prime?
Face-Off inside the NHL.
It is amazing. You haven't watched it, Eric, but I think it's just, RP, to you maybe, like, it just gives you that behind-the-scenes look that we always wanted that as kids, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. It is that look behind the curtain, get to see some of these guys' personalities. For me, selfishly, I like to even just see the setup that they have. I love to see their locker room spaces, gyms, all that.
Their vehicles. What are they driving?
Yeah, all those details that go into it, I think, are fantastic. And we've seen that across multiple sports now. That started, it feels like, with golf, and then it moved into the quarterbacks and receivers
Indy
program
was big.
and all that. Indy as well.
Yeah.
And now we get this
F1.
peek behind the curtain, the F1, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we see with the NHL now. So awesome series. Eric, you gotta sit down and watch it when you have some time.
Well, it's funny, when I was covering the Edmonton Dallas at the end of last season and the Western Final, their crew was everywhere. Like, they were doing Dallas, so you would have seen, I'm assuming, scenes of the Dallas guys. So I am going to watch it. I do wonder if there's a bit of fatigue, right? Like, during the pandemic, I think the whole world watched the F1 one. That kickstarted the tennis, then the golf, and all these other ones you're talking about. And I just wondered if it's almost too late. Like, the NHL typically is just a little late behind a lot of the other sports. But if you're telling me it's worth watching, I'm going to watch. I plan on watching it anyway. But tell me what stood out, because, like, I just want to know if it's just a straight formula from F1 to the NHL. It's just stuff you never see.
Come to think of it now, I remember watching the Edmonton Dallas one, and I was like, look at that. That looks like a statue of Eric Francis in the corner. So it probably was you. No, you know the thing? So the Hughes, he's pretty boring.
Yep.
Like, I bet you they kind of go. That was a tough edit for them to make that seem interesting. Nothing against him. It's just how he is. He's not super. The Jacob Trouba's kind of like the one thing is, a lot of them are dads, of young kids, and it is. I forget who it was. One of them talks about, like, my daily routine now is not sleep until whenever.
Was that Forsberg?
Yeah.
Going to the rink. He was going to the rink for a morning meeting and had his baby with him. Yeah. So different things like that, I think, just show a little bit different side of their personality, and those are the guys. Not as if Philip Forsberg isn't a huge star in the NHL, but you see the McDavids all the time. You see the Dreisaitl's, you see the McKinnons. So to get some of these guys that maybe are just a little bit less attention and learn a little bit more about them, for me, that was what was cool about the behind the scenes and being able to just see a couple of these different guys.
The one thing to you, Eric, is, and you were around this guy, is he does throw some shade to the Oilers. Matthew Tkachuk, he does part of the interview on game day in one of the Cup final games where he's sitting on a floaty in his pool, and he like almost goes out of his way, and he goes, do you think that the Oilers will be doing their interviews like this? He's like, I don't even know if they have swimming pools in Edmonton. And it was like, oh, what a jerk. But just those little jabs, and he's they show him driving his golf cart around South Florida. He just talks about how awesome it would be. Awesome. There's no doubt about it. But you kind of get a look maybe behind the scenes as him as a person. Is he like that? Like, I don't know. You covered him for years.
Oh my God, he's 100% like that. Like, you know how he's so good on the ice at poking the bear on the ice? He's good at it off the ice. Like, I saw it, I heard it, I wrote it a million times. He knew what he was doing. Look, this guy and his brother, they learned from the master, right? They learned from their dad. They watched at his foot, literally from the day they were born, how to poke the bear, how to be an entertainer, how to be a great player, how to be a pro. I guarantee he said in that video what he said a million times, which is, our dad taught us two things. One is, oh God, like, no, I can't forget. I think the first is just, work hard. Second is be a good teammate. Always be a good teammate. That's the most important thing. And those guys took care of their trainers better than anyone in the league because their dad taught them. Anyway, it's a master class in how to be a pro in the National Hockey League, but also how to be marketable. Those guys, there's a reason why those guys have more commercials than any other family in the league, is because they're marketable, they're personable, they're entertainers. They get it. It's not just about goals and assists. It's about how you go about your business, and that show's good at showing that.
The mom got a commercial, like the car commercial, where the boys are in the back. Like, awesome. You'll get to see it, and then you haven't got to this episode though. You see some absolute raw emotion from Keith Tkachuk when they win the cup. Like, it is, it's pretty cool to see, and you really get it. They show him at his house before, but anyway, we can move on from that. It's an unreal. We'll have to catch up. You're going to watch a few episodes, and then we'll catch up back. The other thing I was thinking about when I was coming home yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to ask Eric. Eric, in your mind, what is the worst contract in the NHL?
I don't even think it's close. Like, I'm wondering if you're asking that right now because Stamkos is off to such a bad start. Like, I don't know if that's okay, good. But, give him time. It's 5 games. Like, everybody calm down. But look, this guy's off to a good start, but Jonathan Huberdeau is like it, and I hate to say it because I think he's such a good guy, classy guy. I think he's starting to turn it around this year. We'll wait and see. But $10.5 million to score 53 points, that's by far the worst in the league. Like, you tell me if there's one that sticks out to you as being as bad. And the irony of that is I think that the Flames also have the best contract in the NHL, but we'll get to that in a sec. Tell me who you think even comes close to Huberdeau.
Darnell Nurse.
Yeah, the thing, I was going to say Darnell Nurse as well. And the thing just with Nurse is, I don't know if as an individual it's necessarily like the worst, but it just hamstrings the Oilers because they're going to be in cap difficulties that they could really use that space, right? And maybe on another team that needs a number one guy or what have you, maybe you could make that argument. But the superstars are up, then they're going to have to pay a hefty dollar to keep the party going around there.
I think that's a great point. Like, the reason why it's so tough is because of the opportunity cost, right? Like in Calgary, they have $18 million in cap space this year. The Huberdeau thing doesn't hamstring them from signing it, if they felt like they needed a crucial piece. I think Nurse takes an unfair amount of criticism. Look, everybody in pro sports is pegged to their salary. That's just the reality of it. I always cite Dion Phaneuf when he was in Calgary his first 3 years. Walked on water, got 20 goals. People thought he was the greatest defenseman ever to play in Calgary since Al McInnes. And then he signed that big money contract after year 3, and they booed him out of town to the point where they traded him. Like, because he wasn't living up to the heightened expectations of your contract. So Nurse is, because of the money he's paid, they're expecting him to be better than Bouchard, which is not, but I still think he contributes on a nightly basis to their team toughness, their leadership. He's a top 4 guy. Huberdeau at $10.5 million, and again, I don't want to crap all over him, but we're talking about the question. For $10.5 million, he might have been their 8th best forward last year. And so he can't really help out in other ways, if you know what I mean. At least Nurse is contributing in some way. I know he's a bit of a defensive liability at times, but anyway, we're splitting hairs here. None of these things are things that people in Calgary, Edmonton really like to talk about.
The challenge with players and their contracts is you don't need to be the best player in the league. You just need to be the best player that year in free agency, and you're going to get paid. Yeah. And then you carry that forward for the years to come.
Well, that's where I think Edmonton could be a nice destination for a guy that really needs to resurrect his career, have a good run, and go and get some things done. Okay, which is the best contract in the NHL?
Well, I didn't look all around the league, but Martin Pospisil right now, and people go, what, who? But he's centering the top line in Calgary right now. And he was a huge revelation last year for the Calgary Flames. Last year, no one had ever heard of him. Even in the organization, nobody thought he'd even get a call up. He's been one of the most important players this year already, last year as well, and they signed him to a 2-year extension at $1 million per. Like, when a guy's playing on your top line in the middle and he's only making $1 million, he's got to be in that conversation of one of the best value contracts. Logan Thompson's another guy that comes to mind, but again, he's not even their number one goalie. But he's vastly underpaid given the numbers he has. So anyway, I'll throw Pospisil out there. No, you tell me, is there a guy that comes to mind for you for the best value?
No, that's one that I'm lost because I don't know where some of these great value guys are getting their what they're worth.
Like Connor Bedard.
Right.
Connor Bedard.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. 800,000 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't really count anybody on their entry-level contract that's killing it because it's the kind of apples and oranges. But in terms of a guy who signed a deal after his entry-level deal, it's tough to peg those guys out.
You could make an argument for Nathan MacKinnon right now. He signed a while ago, right? That he's still in between those big contracts if he hasn't re-signed yet, but he'll be due up here.
He's the second highest paid player in the league.
Oh, so he's redone. He's redone.
He re-upped. So
last year,
I can't put him in.
No, not then. If he would have been before on that in-between contract, before those big numbers started coming out, but if he got redone already.
There was guys last year, and I know we can't go off playoffs last year, but you look at how Sam Steele played for Dallas down the stretch and in the playoffs, and then Logan Stankoven was like a cheat pick late, right? To be
Wyatt
able to.
Johnston.
Yes, there's one. There's the one that I was thinking of actually yesterday.
Yeah, but again, entry level deal, right? So it's not really the same.
I told you I was at the Nashville Detroit game on Saturday, and they celebrated Luke Schen's 1,000th game in the NHL. Had a chance. I haven't seen his dad in 20-some years. Talked to Jeff, and Jeff told a story about there was a coach along the way with Luke early in his career, and I won't name names here, so maybe have him on someday, you can tell it, where they said that you might have to look at doing something else. Like you're not going to be able to cut it. And you know what? When you think about Luke's career, I remember watching him as a bantam kid with the contacts, and then into Kelowna, just being around Saskatoon and mutual friends and stuff. And yeah, he was good, but it was like he doesn't have the foot speed. He doesn't have the foot speed. But that guy has made a career, Eric, out of and you know what? Hitting people. Like he's one of the leaders in the league usually on hitting people.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know about you, but I can relate to people telling you, you should probably pick something else. It's, we all hear it in our business from very supportive fans that we have. But Luke Schenn is also, I think the secret to his longevity is just being a great teammate and a great guy. Yeah. Like, him. He's wonderful to talk to. So is his brother. Like, they're both incredible guys, and I think that goes a long way and explains why they're both leadership material for so long. And that, yes, the hitting is a big part of it because he is kind of one-dimensional, in terms of what he does. He's a high off the glass, hit a guy whenever you can guy, but he's also a great leader and in that room too. So I think that's a big part of it.
That's what they showed, and when they had the video montage and all the players and his old teammates that came on, like so many of them were like, "You were one of my favorite teammates ever. You were a great teammate. Yeah. You were great to be around." And of course, he scores on Saturday. How fitting. They lose, but what I was going to tell you, Trotzy, absolute beauty. Like he's just such a good guy. Former Notre Dame Hound. Dauphin, Manitoba, likes his pierogies and cabbage rolls. So I had a chance to meet him. I dropped off a shirt for him and talked to him. Then we caught up with him after the first intermission. And I was like, yeah, it's that was great for Luke. And he goes, do we need to win this one? And he just, the pressure and tension, that he has. They're off to a awful start, but they started awful last year too, the Preds.
It is amazing, like, how much of a hole it puts you on when you're down 0-5 to start the season. Or in the flip case in Calgary right now, 4-0-1. Like, people are talking about them making the playoffs already, and we're 5 games in. And I think it's silliness, because I don't think there's time to panic. Like, I was in Edmonton, last week, and, like, the faces on even the broadcasters and the guys who cover the team were like, oh man, it'd be nice if they won a game. Like, it's trouble around here. I'm like, last year, the Edmonton Oilers was a month and a half before they finally started pushing the panic button, and they almost won the cup. They were 2 goals short. So it's a little early for anybody to freak out, but it is a tense environment, I'm sure, in Nashville, as you saw, because this early in the game, you don't want to be that far behind, because then you literally spend half the season, if not the whole season, trying to catch up, just to catch even with a lot of teams.
It was, I joked, I said that Kane, DeBrincat, and whoever else was on that line, like they gave the puck. There's such a liability down low, and he goes, yeah, but watch when they jump on a loose puck in the neutral zone.
When they get it.
And I was like, yeah, no, they're pretty good. Okay, so let's do this again on Wednesday. Try and watch at least one episode if you can.
I will.
Is that homework?
I love a homework assignment.
You got all those books behind you. We're gonna knock one of those down one by one this season too. See how many you actually read.
Not a chance. That's all window dressing. I don't even know what those are about.
It's a speakeasy behind there to his bar. just a door. Okay, Eric. Let's catch up on Wednesday. Yeah, see ya. Cheers. It's our NHL insider, Eric Francis, for Southie Mainline Chrysler, the new king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan. 30-minute drive from Regina. Worth the drive every time. Guaranteed. Let's take a quick break. If you're watching the stream on SportsCage.com, when we come back, we got J.O. in a bit. RP and I are going to shoot the breeze here for a bit. It's the All New SportsCage and CKRM. Welcome back. Barney Shynkaruk, Ryan Pollock, the Curtis and Colson crew on the other side of the board there. We're getting things done. Staying on the hockey front, Regina Pats 8-0. Ooh. Over the Seattle Thunderbirds, and then there was another blub. Vancouver beat PA 10-1. It's like old school.
Yeah, that's
back in the 80s.
That ended PA's trip out there.
I think so. Yeah,
it's always tough heading out to the coast and playing the BC loop and that, and sometimes those trips can get long. So we've seen lopsided scores like that before out there and in trips, but that makes for a long ride home.
We have some breaking news. We got a breaking news splitter. Anything that we can hit? You guys got a bongo over there? You can
breaking news
on the SportsCage.com. You might want to or on SportsCage, soon to be on SportsCage.com. From the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, the Yorkton Terriers have forfeited their wins October 11th, 16th, and 18th versus Nipawin, Estevan, and Melville, respectively, for the use of an ineligible player. The Hawks, Bruins, and Millionaires will be awarded wins in the aforementioned contests. The players involved with these contests shall be credited with all personal statistics. Ineligible player. So the the story I got allegedly here was they brought in a new player. I'll grab his name here. And so this is perfect because you coached a junior A team in Bonnyville.
Yep.
They just didn't send the card into Hockey Saskatchewan.
Yeah, that's rough.
Can you see it happening though? No.
No, I can't because it's everything's digital now. So you're literally logging in and clicking buttons and having it done. It's a couple minute process. Can I see it be overlooked? Yeah, we're humans and sometimes things happen for sure. But it's the facts didn't get lost or whatever, right? It should be a somewhat pretty straightforward process, but. Yeah, almost. I don't know what to comment about. I know that. No, I know that if I was in charge of that, it wouldn't have gone over very well with the team that I coached in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. Yeah. But
it was Keenan Ingram who they brought in on October 4th, and I guess just didn't dot the I's and cross the T's, and didn't register them with Hockey Saskatchewan. It's got to go through Hockey Saskatchewan. But, okay, so the thing here, and tomorrow we got Benny Walchuk and the SJHL report for Saudi Mainline Chrysler, is what if they don't catch it now?
Right. And it keeps going and going and going.
Like let's say you're 20 games in, or 30 games in or whatever, and now you're forfeiting you know what I'm going to say. Forfeit how many wins? Take a $450 fine as well, it says. So receive amended. How does this work here? Certified players, affiliated players are to be completed through the electronic registration process. The way that's what you just talked about. In addition to the right of the commissioner to forfeit a game for the use of an eligible player, the offending team will receive a mandatory fine of $450. Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering too, and I don't know exactly how the SJHL works, but if it's caught, if some sort of status comes out. I know that when I was in the Alberta Junior League, that every few days a status would come out, so it would show players that may have been released or players that have been uploaded, and then all of a sudden, if those don't correspond, or even I don't know this, I'm speculating, potentially even Yorkton could have received the status and went, oh boy.
Yeah.
Why isn't he appearing on here? And issues become,
like you said, human error. Things happen, right? Yep. Until Elon Musk gets those robots everywhere, there's going to be the human error. Remember the old days? The newspaper, you'd always look through the transactions.
The actual transactions. Yeah. Wait till Tuesday in the Leader Post when it'd give the update. See if I got dropped by Weyburn. Nope, not yet.
Yeah. So there's some breaking news for you on the Sports Cage.
That's too bad for the kid too. Obviously not the kid's fault, right?
Oh no.
Just unfortunate situation, and changes the standings though. If I'm correct, it moves them to 5 and 6. They were in first place.
Yeah.
So be a big flip there early in the season, but.
For just joining in, when we were talking about the Yorkton Terriers have forfeited their wins October 11th, 16th, and 18th because they were using basically an ineligible player. They didn't send the card in to Hockey Saskatchewan. Thus, and then at least all the other kids get to save their points.
Yeah. So the game occurred, correct, and that's how they're treating it. It's just the win just flips.
Yeah. So, wow. That would be crazy if you don't catch it until 10 to 20 games down the road. Something else. Yeah, because I wonder if the standings are updated. No, it still has Yorkton, at top with 8 and 3.
So, the way I look at it really quickly is that it would actually put Yorkton in last place, tied with Estevan. Would move them back down to 10 points. The win would give Estevan 10 points, and and that's the fourth place.
Rallying cry. We're going to use this as
I mean, obviously they've shown that they're a good team. That they're 8-3, so they should be able to battle back and make up for those, if you will. But yeah, unfortunate situation.
And that Keenan Ingram is a good 20-year-old that they picked up. So yeah, the Terriers will be fine. Now they just they have something to light. If they needed a fire lit, they have that now. So
Yorkton against the world.
Yorkton. Yeah, there's one game actually in the SJHL today while we're on it, and it was an afternoon contest. I think it's one of those school. Yeah. Surprised more teams don't do that. Like the Pats used to do it, WHL, and I think the Blades used to do it up in Saskatoon. There's a lot of logistics.
Oh, yeah.
No, my wife would be like, "Oh, God," then the buses, and then kids don't show up, and then they're running around and they go missing, and they're up on the gondola somewhere with the guy that drives the blimp. Kindersley 6-5 over Notre Dame in an afternoon affair in Kindersley. Kindersley, we went for the Pee Wee tournament a few years ago.
Oh yeah,
and they had their afternoon game on. It actually was a good tie-in.
Great facility there. Awesome 2 rinks.
Really good side. Yeah. Really good facility in Kindersley. So there was one game in the SJ. Benny Walchuk joins us tomorrow for the SJHL report here on the Sports Cage. We'll get more on the legal player of the Yorkton Terriers, and we'll go from there. It's always brought to you by Southie Mainline Chrysler. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Jeremy O'Day from the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It's the All New SportsCage streaming at YouTube. Welcome back. All New SportsCage. Barney Shynkaruk, Ryan Pollock on this Monday for Kelm Solar in Lumsden. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. We have them waiting a little bit too long here. From the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Vice President of Football Operations and General Manager, and former Edinburgh Fighting Scot, Jeremy O'Day, joining us. Jeremy, I was just sitting here talking to RP. It was picture day for the team. Could have been a lot worse weather-wise. Probably one of the better pictures weather-wise that you've been involved in October.
Yeah, we got pretty lucky with the weather having pictures this late, but it was it was a nice evening, and they always take a little bit longer than they should, but it was harmless.
You were talking about this, RP.
Yeah, Jo, I remember times out there. I was just telling Barney before we came on that there was days I'd go out there and look at the photographer and say, okay, we're going to have like 4 minutes with these guys until we're going to lose them because it's about -12. So yeah. I'm happy you guys got a nice day for it.
We still lost them within 4 minutes, RP, but that's okay. We got done what we needed to.
Awesome.
Bye week. Personally, what does a bye week for Jeremy O'Day look like these days?
This bye week is a little different than most. I mean, it's late in the season, so you're really trying to prepare some stuff for the end of the season. Hopefully we continue to go on a roll here, and it ends the way we want to. And but just really, it gives you the opportunity just to be prepared for kind of season end and kind of go through some odds and ends and kind of clean it up, and a little bit of scouting and a little bit of salary cap stuff that you're working on this late in the season, and a little time with the family. It was nice that it was over Thanksgiving there. We got some time with the family, which was nice, and so it was a good bye week. Lots of guys stayed and just continued to work, and a couple of guys got home to visit their families as well.
In an ideal world, would you take this bye week late in the season like this, Jeremy, or would you kind of prefer it maybe a little bit earlier?
I think the key is just try to have them spaced out, a nice spacing between them so that you can, get guys healthy. I don't particularly like the bye week right at the end of the season. So this one was nice that it fit up real well with some of the injuries we had, and giving guys an extra week to get healthy and kind of seeing how the rest of the league was going to shake out. So I didn't mind it a couple weeks or a week away from the end of the season. But the key is you don't want to go, too long without having a bye week so you can get some guys some rest.
Jamarcus Hardrick was in co-hosting with me last week. So much fun. I kind of figured it would be from the first time I interviewed him. Just like what a human, what a leader, the stories, what the guy's been through, from growing up and to the pro ranks of football. J.O., like he really wants to play. Like, if he could play right now, he would. But he really wants to continue playing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's that type of person. I think this is one of his first injuries he's had that cost him to miss some time, and it's often difficult to go through those challenges when you're hurt and you're down for a bit of time. But he had a pretty substantial injury in his quad, and itching to get back like a lot of guys, and those things just take time. You got to let him heal and get strengthened up, and when the timing's right, he'll be back.
J.O., I'm curious now, after mentioning Hardrick here, obviously he goes down somewhat early in the season. Phil Blake goes down somewhat early in the season there, and there's been lots of shuffling along the O-line. But from my chair, I think they've stood real tall and done a heck of a job this season with all those changes. Talk about a guy like Logan Ferland getting moved to center, and looks like he's doing a heck of a job. You must be pretty happy with that group.
Yeah, they've done a nice job. As you said, we had some injuries there. It's kind of been the theme the last number of years. But I think this year we lost Hardrick pretty early. Obviously, Philip Blake early, and also Ryan Seaver, who was another guy that was getting some good play time for us here. And guys have just kind of stepped up. You mentioned Logan. Logan's bounced around. I think he's played almost every position on the O-line this year, and played it at a high level. I'm a little bit biased, but it's not super easy just to jump in there and go to center when you're making all the calls, and when you're used to playing guard or tackle. It is a different change, and now you're worried about the snap instead of just worrying about who you're blocking and making sure your assignments are good. So he's done a great job with that. We were able to add Tate, later in the season there, and he's kind of come in and solidified that tackle while Hardrick's been out. Trevor Reed's been pretty consistent for a rookie at left tackle, and then lots of guys that have jumped in. Peter Godber's been dinged up, but has done a nice job for us. Zach Fry has finally got an opportunity to play and really make the most of it. Noah Zur, they're always doing great, and Brammer's done a nice job for us playing both tackle and guard. So hats off to our offensive line coach and the job he's done with them. We've kind of been musical chairs there with those guys, but it's a credit to those guys. And it's a little bit different with our offensive coordinator. How plays are called and run plays and play actions, and those also help the offensive line as well.
I've wanted to ask you this, and if maybe you can give us a look behind the curtain, because we've had so many people, message. You know what it's like in Sasky. Everybody's, a general manager has ideas and all that. But how difficult is it for you to make phone calls to try and find guys in this day and age, right? Like, do you have stories where you call guys and they're like, you know what? The game's passed me by. I just, wrote my mortgage broker license, or I just bought a car wash, or I don't know, whatever. And guys are like, I'm not playing the game anymore. Like, how many calls would you make in a summer like this? Like 50?
Well, it's just a matter of, what position you're looking for. So, and it's just not me that would be making the calls. It'd be me and the assistant GMs and former coaches if they coached them. But I would say there'd be a lot more than 50. But, there is, what's interesting with our league is there's a negotiation list, and, a lot of the players that you would reach out to may possibly be on another team's negotiation list. So you have to, make sure you're targeting players that aren't on negotiation list players. They're not playing in any of the other leagues that are going on. And then what's their status in the NFL? Most of the time you're looking for guys that are right there at that bubble. And, guys got to be at that point where they're ready to make the jump to another league. So a lot of it is just trying to feel out to see if they want to still have the opportunity, if they're interested in your league. And then, someone comes down to dollars. If you had a guy that's played in the NFL for a number of years and he's done well for himself, whether he still wants to play at a salary that's reduced from what he's used to. So, if you have an area that you're looking at and you're trying to, you're usually calling, 8, 10, 12 different players in that position, trying to see what their situation is, and then you're kind of regrouping together to see, what's the best fit and who's the best person to bring in at that time. But lots of moving around in your negotiation list, as you can imagine, when you're going through that. But it's kind of constant, to be honest, negotiations. And even in positions that you feel good with, you're still making calls at those positions just to try to make sure you're kind of one step ahead of the injuries if they happen.
Couple here from listeners that sent in. I did screen them, so don't worry. He's saying, when did you first come across Roland Milligan Jr.?
Well, we signed Roll again, I think it was about 2.5 years ago, and we brought him up actually when our rosters expanded. So we just kind of got through that period where our practice roster expanded. So he came up very late in the season, and we kind of brought him out with the rest of the PR guys, and we do one-on-ones after practice so we can actually take a look at the players in practice and live against our guys. And you could tell with Roland within the first 2 or 3 plays that he was going to be a good player for us. As far as we scouted him, I think that originally was seen by Kyle Carson with the Colts, and so usually what happens there, if you have a player that you like, we usually reach out to the team and just kind of get some feedback on them. Obviously, we can see how they are on tape, but kind of more so what kind of people they are, the personality, work ethic, those type of things, and we really got kind of glowing report card from Roland and his work ethic and kind of everything that we've seen since he's been here. So he was kind of the rare case that came late in the season after a training camp in the NFL and just kind of made his mark. We actually put him on the roster that year, and he actually made it into the playoffs as well on the roster, which is pretty rare.
Cool. This came across twice, so I'm just going to paraphrase it. But so 2019 is when you become the actual vice president of football operations and general manager. Do you remember your first trade?
Oh, boy. I'm not so sure if I do or not. I'm trying to think who it would have been. I'm trying to think when we traded for Alfred. I'm not exactly sure what the first trade would have been.
It's a tough one.
Look back.
Yeah, no, and then so another one, a fun one here is someone's asking if you've given any intel to Montreal for this weekend.
No, just I know that they're going to want to play good going into the playoffs. I know they had a tough game this week in BC, so I think that they're going to want to be playing well. They'll have a bye week as well, so I think they want to go into the playoffs playing good football. So hopefully they do and get a win there and give us an opportunity to finish what we want to accomplish and get that first round bye.
J.O., speaking the obvious that you guys' goal this week is to go in and win, there's no doubt, but does it make it just a little bit more challenging knowing that game earlier than you could make your game essentially meaningless in the standings wise, that if Winnipeg does go out there and win, does it just pose any challenges from a roster setup where maybe things could potentially change or in-game potentially change the way you're putting guys out there?
Yeah, certainly you've got to prepare for both scenarios, and what are you able to do if it goes your way? If it doesn't go your way, obviously, if it goes our way, we're full steam ahead. If it doesn't go your way, would you make any changes to who's playing in the game, knowing that the outcome's not going to affect anything in the standings? So we definitely have a plan for that. I think the biggest challenge really is just for the players to have that mindset of, hey, we're just preparing to go win a football game to try to get first place. And you can't let your mind drift thinking, if the game before doesn't go the way we want it, then what's going to change and stuff like that. So we've told the players, prepare if we're going out there to try to get first place. And, whatever happens in the first game, we'll kind of deal with it at that time. From a management standpoint, obviously me and Corey have discussed, the situation that could come up if Winnipeg wins that game, how would that change, and what kind of approach would we want to have? And there's not a ton of time in between the two games, but there's enough.
As a CFL fan, I'm happy that it comes down to the last weekend and the last day. There's some meaningful games. As a Rider fan, I hope Montreal pulls out a W and the stadium will be rocking Saturday night and make that game mean a whole lot for you guys. So I'm wishing you all the best, Joe, as always. Yep. Obviously, we'll all be watching, man. So go finish it out strong.
I appreciate you, RP.
Yeah, right on, Jeremy. Okay, enjoy maybe a little bit of peace and quiet in the last day. Two Monday nighters to watch tonight. Maybe you can kind of kick back and relax. But yeah, thanks so much. Job well done, and continued success.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good night.
Right on. Thanks, is Jeremy O'Day, Vice President of Football Operations and General Manager for our Saskatchewan Roughriders. Cool look behind the curtain there. More than 50 calls.
Yeah, 50 seemed like a lot when you say 50.
I thought I would have bet the under.
Yeah, and then he just kind of rolled right past it. Yeah, more than 50.
And not just him.
Yeah.
Making calls, right?
Network of guys. So they're always out there pounding the pavement looking for the next one.
Time for a break. We're up against the clock. We got an hour. We got Darian Durant coming in after the hour. It is the All New SportsCage, streaming at sportscage.com and on 620 CKRM. One more hour left for Kellen Solar. Like I said, it's the last day for the Harvard Media Auction. And we had Travis chatting about it earlier in the commercial break. If you are looking for a deal on anything, harvardmediaauctions.com. I did mention our daily sponsor today on Monday is Kellen Solar. They do have a couple of things in the auction. It's under the miscellaneous. Love that word, by the way. It is like, what are they? They're trough pumps, because they can get water from a dugout, or a well without electricity. So it's all solar powered, fancy stuff. So any livestock people, there are a lot of things like health and beauty stuff, tons of food, some recreation, gift packs. And you can go scroll Calgary, Edmonton, Fort McMurray, Red Deer, Regina, Saskatoon, Yorkton. So maybe you're traveling, you want to pick something up in Alberta. There you go. It's the last day, though. Harvard Media Auctions.
Now's the time to bid. Last day.
Nah, bid now, and bid often. Also, we are playing SaskTel Pick the Score. 936-6262. If you're on your way home now, starting to get busy downtown Regina here. A lot of people driving home. What is the score against the Stamps this weekend? Leave your name, number, where you're from, and you got a chance to win 2 tickets to the game this weekend. Thanks to our friends at SaskTel.
The All New SportsCage presents Double Talk with Darian Durant. Brought to you by Wolf Industries, your truck repair specialist in Grenfell. Servicing all sizes of trucks, SGI accredited. And Prairie Land Rentals. Whether it's for the farm or the backyard, Prairie Land Rentals can help with all sizes of jobs.
Doubles is joining us. There he is. If you're watching the stream, you see him. Okay, so the last time you and I talked, you were like trying to get out of the way of a hurricane. Are you okay? Everything okay down there?
Yeah, we made it out fine. Thanks to the riders for assisting myself and my family for getting out of here in good time. And luckily, the hurricane didn't do much damage. It was predicted to be a strong Category 4, and when it landed, it was a 3, and it didn't even divert to our part of Florida. So we're thankful for that.
Let's put the riders over here for a sec. They're on the bye week. They're getting back at it. Let's start with BC hammering Montreal 27-3. Oh, and lo and behold, Vernon Adams goes off. Now, put us in the locker room there for the BC Lions and the predicament that they're in now.
Well, you know what? I think it's a no-brainer. I think you have to go with VA. I mean, you could just see the chemistry. I spoke on this last week. The chemistry that he developed with these receivers started in the offseason with him flying guys out to Seattle and them spending weeks together, putting in the work. I mean, that's when it starts. And then, he led the league in passing last year. And then this year, he just starts off so hot, front runner for MOP. And then, he gets banged up a little bit and loses his job. So I don't agree with that. One thing you can't do in sports is you bench a hot quarterback. That just doesn't sit well and usually never works out for a team.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for them right now. It becomes an issue once the offseason hits, but we'll face that at a later date here. But I used the term earlier, Doubles, that the business of football can't get in the way of winning football, and I would agree with you. I think VA's the hot hand right now. I think he gives them the best opportunity moving forward, and they become a dangerous team once again, like they were early in the season with him behind center and rolling. And especially he's the type of guy that that when he plays with a chip on his shoulder, he can be a determined athlete.
No question. And the main thing with VA is that live arm of his. I mean, you saw in the opening play, they go up top, something they've been missing for the past couple months in their pass game. And guys like Hatcher and McInnes and, those guys are down the field guys, and VA is the perfect match for them.
Okay, so what do you do if you're in charge of the Montreal Alouettes? Because you put up 3 points, you don't look very good. Your QBs don't look very good. You got one more game, then you got to bye before the East final. Like, what do you do there? Do you roll everybody out and try and knock the rust off, or do you still play the kind of let's rest guys, make sure we're good to go in a couple weeks thing?
I think you have to rest your guys. I mean, there's nothing worse than guys who are playing for nothing playing against a team that's playing for everything. And, the extra intensity that Winnipeg is going to be out there with, I think it could put some of these starters in Montreal in harm's way. And you guys have it all locked up. And you're a veteran team, right? I could see if they were a young team and still trying to figure things out. But they're a veteran team, defending champs. And, rest could only help a team like that. So I think they'll tank it and get some of those younger guys some experience and just try to lay down and just protect yourself.
With quarterback specific doubles, Cody's missed some time with injury and then missed the game a week ago or prior to there with the having his child. So even with him, you'd be comfortable as a QB taking a little bit of that extra time off?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's a vet, and he's proven that he can play. I mean, maybe you give him a couple snaps early, treat it as if it's kind of a preseason game scenario for him. But, I mean, he's a veteran guy, and you only have to win one game to get to the Cup. So I'd bank on that. I put my money on Cody resting up and the team resting and being able to win one game at home.
We just had J.O. on, and he talked about it after our PS, the question here. But to you, and what mindset would you be in as a player with this weekend's game with Calgary? Because you're watching that Winnipeg-Montreal game, right? And your kind of mindset is like, okay, yeah, we got to, we win Montreal. Hopefully they pull it out against Winnipeg. Or then, now the Calgary game doesn't really mean all that much. Like the mental gymnastics as a player, how would you be dealing with that, Doubles?
Yeah, that's a tough scenario, man, because you're going to dress and design the roster as if it's a huge game and one you need to win, not one where you want to get some reserves, some playing time.
Yeah.
So it's a tough scenario, but if Winnipeg wins, then I could see Coach maybe getting Trevor a couple series, because Trevor took a big shot last week when the game was over against BC 2 weeks ago. And, you just don't want to risk that. You want to make sure he's healthy going into the playoffs. So I can see him getting a couple snaps. And then you put Shea in some of those backups in. And, quarterback's really the only position where you can have, multiple backups. The rest of the starters, they're going to have to play. It's just how it is with the short rosters. And, it's a tough scenario, but you have to rest Trevor.
Do you know this, RP, or Doubles? I know in hockey, right, you can take the warm up and then you put in your card after. But in football, what do you got?
1 hour. That's what I was just looking at the timing there. So 1 o'clock game local here, out east, and then 5 o'clock snap here. So they'd potentially have about an hour before the hour.
Wow.
But I think what Doubles is alluding to here is we're not going to have 10 guys waiting in the wings, waiting to see what the roster is. It's essentially whether Trevor's going to play. Another one that I find interesting though, Doubles, is maybe AJ Ouellette. He's been just trying to get back. He's been banged up for a big chunk of the season. Great to see him back. The previous game, but he could be another guy. They haven't typically dressed a full running back. Hudon, I guess, it dresses as the running back. He could take those snaps for sure, but he could potentially be a guy that I could see being on the roster the day before and potentially coming off if that scenario were to play out that way.
Yeah, definitely. He needs as much rest as he can get. I mean, whenever you're dealing with a lower body injury, those things can be tricky. A guy falls on you or you take the wrong step, you could re-aggravate that injury. So I could definitely see him being a late scratch if Winnipeg has that game under control.
And just even the way he plays, he doesn't go around, he goes through.
Exactly.
Which makes him who he is.
There's no business decisions.
No, zero.
When it comes to him. That'll be really, really interesting. Okay, let's get a little bit of NFL stuff here. Russell Wilson, now are we thinking Super Bowl for the Steelers or what?
Oh, hey, let's pump our brakes a little bit on that now. I mean, there's still the Chiefs and there's still Baltimore in that division. So I wouldn't go that far. But look, of course, we like what we saw out of Russell Wilson, specifically in the second half. I thought he started off a little rusty in the first half. But, what he gives that team is just touch on the football. If you look at some of those deep throws to Pickens down the field, I mean, he gives them a chance. Sometimes it hurts you to have such a strong arm that you have no touch. And Russell Wilson has touch, and it shows on those deep balls. He has the command, and it's definitely a good fit for him. I'm excited to see them moving forward.
It looked like 10 years ago with him throwing it up to a young Lockett in Seattle with what he was doing. I need a few more games to get to how is Russ really cooking here, or was this an anomaly?
We can't crown them yet. Not yet.
No. What about the Jets though? Like, wow, imagine being in that locker room.
Man, it's tough, man. Everyone thinks that because you're a good player, you can just walk into another locker room, another city, another situation, and just have all the success in the world. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, I look at it like me leaving Saskatchewan, which is like Green Bay, pretty much a football town. And then you're going to the big city, big lights of Montreal, where I went, and then New York, where Aaron Rodgers is. And it's just, it's just not the same. The environment's not the same. Your preparation's not the same. You have people tugging on you, wanting you to do this, appearance here, all of these other distractions. And I still think he can sling it, man. He still shows that he has the arm. I just think it has to come together a little bit. So I wouldn't write them off just as yet. Another loss or two may put them in deep danger. But right now, I mean, it's still early. And he's gone on 5-game losing streaks. And you remember his famous quote, RELAX, just relax. No. And that was after a 5 or 6 game losing streak. So I wouldn't put anything past him.
That was an Achilles ago, though, long before. He's not mobile anymore, like in the pocket, right? Like there's no threat there on him running yet. Anyway, okay, before we let you go, Jamarcus Hardrick came in and co-hosted the show last week. It was so much fun. He talked about that he wants to learn to ice skate. And I don't know how he's going to do that and all that. And then I thought, okay, has Darian ever ice skated? Can Darian ice skate? What's your deal when it comes to putting on the blades?
Man, I am the worst skater. I think I went to Yorkton for an appearance, and I was dropping a puck at a hockey game, and just going out on the ice, I almost slipped and fell. So I was like, there's no way I could do this with skates on. So
did you
it's
set
a big
that up?
no for me.
If I'd set it up, I would have put Darian in skates in order to do it. So
broom ball shoes.
No,
I played a rec game with the Riders crew in what would have been like the winter of 2013, 2014 after we won the Grey Cup, and we were doing a little tour, and Brendan Labatt on skates was the largest human I've ever been around on ice. So Jamarcus might be bigger than Brendan, and they take up a lot of space out there on skates.
Yeah.
Could Blue move? Could he move a little bit?
Oh yeah, Blue's on my list as one of my top athletes to be around.
Really?
Big man like that. He can golf. He can skate. Obviously, a heck of a football player.
Imagine going into a corner with a guy that size or Jamarcus and then getting a reverse hit.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you start skating around and you're going, it's a large man.
Yeah. Doubles right on. Okay. Let's see how it all shakes down this week. I'm sure we'll all be watching intently, and then we'll catch up on Monday.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Right on.
All right, Dubs.
Double Talk with Darian Durant every Monday here on the All New SportsCage. It is brought to you by our friends at Prairieland Rentals on Albert Street. Jeremy and the crew deal with the owner. It's snowblower season there.
It is.
So if you are thinking about a snowblower, Husqvarna, Prairieland Rentals, They'll get you all hooked up there. And also Wolf Industries, truck repair specialists in Grenfell, servicing all sizes of trucks and SGI accredited. Time for a break. If you're watching the stream, we'll be right back. It's at SportsCage.com. Welcome back. Barney Shynkaruk, Ryan Pollock, Curtis and Colson going down here. If you missed it earlier, let me pull it back up here. We had some breaking news on the Sports Cage today. It's still not up on the website, Colson?
No, there's no official news release that I've seen on the website. Here, nope, nothing. Did a quick refresh, still nothing. But
I know that if you're just joining us, the Yorkton Terriers, they're forfeiting their wins October 11th, 16th, and 18th versus the Nipawin Hawks, Estevan Bruins, and Melville Millionaires for the use of an ineligible player.
They are slowly updating the standings now on the SJHL website.
So that's what you were talking about earlier, because you figured they bumped to last place in
the division, in the Viterra division. They'd be tied for third place of 4 teams. So
yeah, and it was the story that I got, anyways, was the kid that came in from Alberta, Keenan Ingram, on October 4th, and then human error. I guess that would land with the general manager, would it not?
Yeah, ultimately, absolutely.
General manager of the Yorkton Terriers failed to submit an electronic. Mm-hmm. How does that work now?
Yeah, literally you have a team login on Sask Hockey website that pulls up your roster, register players. You can search up players, everyone that's registered in Hockey Canada, transfer them in, activate them. It's literally clicks of buttons and hit submit, and they're good to go. And there's no time lag, no nothing. As long as they're inputted before you drop the puck, then they're eligible to play, essentially.
Yeah, so that was missed into Hockey Saskatchewan. So, and then we kind of joked about it earlier, but it is true. It's like, so it's 3 games, 3 wins. Imagine if this isn't caught, for 10, 15, how long it would go. But you said that there's kind of something that would maybe trigger it.
Yeah, I'm making a bit of an assumption, but I know in a lot of leagues there's a status report that comes out. Yeah. So they'll send out emails to all the teams that shows any transactions, any roster changes, any back end moves like that. So that could have been a possibility that came out, especially when I see games that close, 11, 16, 18, that he comes in, and so obviously something got triggered there that he didn't get registered, and either the league noticed it on the transactions on a game sheet, or potentially the status report came out, and the team could have even identified it. So again, I'm speculating with that, just trying to provide an insight into kind of how those processes work.
So the Yorkton Terriers are losing 3 wins, also getting slapped with $450 mandatory fine for that. So yeah, there was one game in the SJHL this afternoon. It was Kindersley in an afternoon affair hosting Notre Dame 6-5. Kindersley wins there. We'll have the full SJHL report for Southie Mainline Chrysler, the new king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan, tomorrow with Benny Walchuk. You and I, we were talking about the Prime NHL Look Behind the Curtain documentary, NHL Face Off, whatever it's called, and you still have 2 episodes.
Last 2, yeah, Stanley Cup final episodes.
What stood out, or what have you really liked about it?
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit to me about the guys that maybe you don't quite know as much about. I like the Jeremy Swayman focus. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a good one too.
His dad seems like a good dude.
Yeah. It's funny too. Like I remember another one years ago where Crosby came out of the locker room and his dad's standing out there and he gives him a hug and they're walking away and he goes, "You got to keep working on that shot." And I'm thinking, yeah, here's the best player in the world. Got a dad still giving him insights, and same with Swayman walking out of the arena there with his dad, and his dad saying, "Oh, I thought your movements were really good tonight. You looked really smooth and looked like you were on balance." And so it never stops. I guess it never stops giving that feedback to the kids.
I don't know what to make of the Toronto Maple Leafs, because that's one of the early episodes, and the infighting and the turmoil, like when Marner threw off his gloves last year, and they go through all that, and it seems like there's some bickering, and we've all played on teams. Yeah, like there is, sometimes it happens, but I don't know what that team's makeup is, and they really focus on William Nylander. And yeah, he seems like a good guy. Seems very passive. Good guy. He's got his dogs, likes walking his dogs, all that. The one thing that I thought was wild is he takes like the subway or whatever to the game. Like, how annoying would that be?
Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. Imagine just being there and he's following the one guy up the stairs with the Bruins jersey on. Yeah, that's funny, heading into the rink. So, but those are the types of things that I like to see. And you're bang on. I was interested as soon as it started. I remembered about the back and forth on the bench. I think the best teams have those interactions if they're handled the right way and they come from the right spot. I think your best players need to challenge each other to be their best. So it was interesting to kind of see how that played out. But I don't know. I went a little bit back and forth watching it with Nylander. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt that you are who you are, and being laid back doesn't mean he's not a top end competitor when he gets out on the ice. And then to me, he made a few comments about the mysterious playoff injury where he lost or missed 3 games.
Migraines.
Yeah, and it just...
that was really weird because he was playing up to it.
Exactly. So I'm not saying anything against it, but it's still a little bit of a mystery. And he just, because he's laid back, he doesn't give you the impression that he's doing everything possible to get back in. It was almost like, I have these and it is what it is, and I'll get back out there when I get back out there. But he's a heck of a talent, boy, that's for sure.
We were talking about it with Eric Francis earlier, and the Matthew Tkachuk throwing a little bit of shade at Edmonton from his pool in Sunrise, Florida. If you haven't watched it, you got to tune into that. The thing is, and I was like, I actually despised the Oilers for the longest time, and then I just... when they started coming back there, like it was like this has to finish with them winning. And then when you watch it and it they go through the emotion of losing that game 7, and it was like, this is bogus. Like, this is not how it's supposed to end up. And it's for all the people out there, the tinfoil head people that think everything's staged, like the raw emotion on both ends on the victory. And it reminded me like McDavid not winning that and getting to that game 7 and willing that team to game 7. It reminded me a bit of Tom Watson, the 2009 British Open. Where he was chance to win it at 59 years old.
Yeah.
And like everybody is rooting for Tom Watson to win this at 59. And then it doesn't happen. And it's like, no. That's not how it's supposed to. No, rewind it.
Right.
And like, yeah, McDavid, like people have seen the clips, like he absolutely breaks down after that game 7. You haven't got there yet, and you can just
I mean that was the first part that came out on social media, right? As soon as this series was released, everyone could start to see that one. So I'm curious to see that last episode, obviously knowing how it somewhat ends. But anybody that knows me knows how I feel about the Edmonton Oilers as a fan. So I actually went to Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final this year, my son and I, and we made that 8-hour drive to Edmonton, fully expecting to see the Stanley Cup that night. We walk in the building.
Shania Twain.
Lift their little Shania Twain concert. We walk in the building out of timing. We walk right in through the gate just as all the Florida Panthers family is coming off the bus and they're loading in. And jabbing my son, telling him, hey, look, here's all the this is the family. And we go up to our seats and they're literally sitting in the section right beside us. So I'm already anticipating 2 hours from now that this is going to be awesome. Florida's going to win the Stanley Cup tonight in a sweep. The family's right here. We'll be able to catch their emotions while we're going through it. And then the Oilers came out and eviscerated the Panthers.
Like they hammered them.
Was awesome. It was the most unbelievable sporting event I've ever been to. That arena was absolutely electric. And that's what we all laughed about was on the way home, was we fully went there with that intent of seeing the cup and drove home smiling, going, man, the Oilers are in this all of a sudden. It's still 3-1, but the Oilers are in this the way the game played out. They go down to Florida, they steal one, and this is a series. And sure enough, that's how it ended up playing out.
The other thing that you bring that up, right, and how so that was the longest travel ever in Stanley Cup final history. And you really get a sense of what a lot of the guys are going through injury-wise and pain. And then it's like, okay, we got to hop on a plane for 4.5 hours and try and be comfortable and then go back down. But I think one of the things that'll forever be etched in my memory from that run, besides the fact that I had way too many units on the Dallas Stars and Carolina Hurricanes that never came in, was when McDavid said we're going to drag them back to Alberta. And that's what they did. And it's so weird to watch. And then it's like, what? Yeah, no, that's not how it's. This is supposed to end with the Oilers winning this thing, but.
You know, the other thing that it shows is just how hard it is. And that's where I always caution people. And of course, the Oilers are a good team. Don't buy into the fact that we're 5 games in here. They'll find their way. They got the best 2 players in the world on their roster, and they'll find their way again. But it is so hard. It's a hard season, and then you get to the playoffs, and it's 4 rounds of hard hockey. Yeah. So to say that they're favorites, yeah, sure, I guess that's what the bettors say. But the road back there is very, very difficult, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them back there, obviously, with the guys and talent that they have on their team. But man, there's been lots of teams that get there and people think, oh, well, they're going to be back, and then the road's so hard you never get back. So you see that emotion, you see that passion, and those players know just how difficult it is.
It's funny you bring that up, because that's the one thing when I'm watching it, and then I was like, yeah, you know what, the Oilers, yeah, they're too good not to just the best player in the world and will them back to there. And then you start, like talking to Eric Francis today, right, about slow starts. But you start looking at the teams that are really good, and like the Stars are going to be there, the Golden Knights, the Avalanche. That Landeskog thing in that is pretty cool too.
Cool too.
Seeing, I forgot how long actually he's away from the game and what he's had to put up with. Then you got you got the Los Angeles Kings, who people aren't going to watch a lot all year, and they're just going to be pests in the postseason. Does Utah with the youth make some sort of thing? Seattle, like there's so many good teams, and it's like, yeah, you know what? This isn't a given for the Oilers. This isn't 1984.
Yeah, I mean, you go to the Dallas series, and I think everyone knows that follows the game how good Dallas is. But the Oilers won a game with 10 shots on goal or 12 shots on goal, and there was I believe Game 6 overtime. Dallas hits the post that would have wrapped up the series or whatever it was there. It's such a fine line, and one of those bounces goes against you, and it's different. I'm a believer that a 7-game series never lies, that the winner is always the team that deserves it. The Oilers-Dallas series last year probably is the biggest series to challenge my theory. Not as if it's my special theory, but that theory. And man, it's tight, and all those teams you mentioned. Did you mention Vegas?
Yeah,
I mean, Vegas is going to always be in the mix there. We know that, and
I forgot when they were doing the Eichel thing. I'm like, oh yeah, Noah Hannafin,
right? Yeah,
like he's just there. He's just a guy now.
Oh, for sure.
On the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah, there's it's a lot there. It's a good program. Speaking of championships, we started the show. Interviewing Scott MacAulay, Dave Thomas and I, head coach of the Regina Thunder, who go and pull it out in Saskatoon Sunday. And now they got a date with Okanagan at Leibel, 1 p.m. Sunday, the PF or the Canadian Junior Football semifinal. But when we were talking to them, they were never, it's like, yeah, they lost to the Hilltops twice.
Yeah.
but they were there.
Yeah.
They knew that football is a one gamer.
Day. Yeah. Whoever's best on that day in football. And awesome to see them. I mean, essentially, I read about it and was following along live, and they seem to be in control the entirety of the game. Obviously, it was a little bit tight there, but they get out to the lead, and they seem to be in control for most of the game. So that's awesome. A lot of familiar names in talking late in the season. Thunder, Hilltops, Okanagan seems to be the way it's the path goes around here. But awesome for them, and wish Scotty and the crew there all the best.
We'll be following them along all week here. If you missed that interview, you can go back and listen to it in podcast form with Thunder head coach Scott MacAulay. Time for a quick break. You're listening to the All New SportsCage on the home of football in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. If you like the part of the program where we talk gambling, you're in for it right now. There's 2 Monday nighters tonight. There's a show in AZ. How good would it be to be tailgating there right now? Outside State Farm.
Looks all
That's
right.
an old picture. That's not live because that lawn would be absolutely packed right now. They're lying to us. It'd be good. First off, we got Baltimore and Tampa Bay starting in like 20 minutes time. Baltimore's a 3.5-point favorite. I don't know if I can touch that on the line. I don't know.
I'm taking Baltimore straight up. I think they're going into Tampa to take her.
I want to take somebody from the Ravens to guaranteed score a touchdown. Who did you say?
Isaiah Likely. Zay Flowers potentially.
I like Likely. Let's put a unit on him, and then
Derrick Henry's probably even odds.
Yeah, Henry's not even worth it. What about on the other side? The Mike Evans standalone game? Has he got one in him? Anybody else on the Tampa side?
Chris Godwin's always safe.
Godwin's good, yeah.
That guy's still playing, that's right.
Does Baker scamper in for one?
Baker, let's do that. National televised game.
Yeah.
Baker likes the
He'll have a little flair going.
Likes the like. Yeah, that's what I'm playing there. I don't think I can touch the money line on that. Or maybe let's do over-under, though. Over-under, 51.
Oh, boy.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I might save a few for the Cardinals and Chargers, which the Chargers are a 1-point favorite in Arizona. I might take Arizona on that. Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Standalone game. Speaking of gambling, Keniston Super Draft. You were just going through the list here. If you're watching the stream, that's what it looks like. Keniston Super Draft, and you get to fill out 32 guys in the box, or you can write in.
Couple guys, yeah. You got to do your homework to write in.
We let Jamarcus Hardrick pick the first guy last week when he was here. He went with Connor McDavid. Savvy hockey guy.
Yeah.
Who did you? I'm going to let you pick the second one. And who did you say?
I'm going Kucherov from Tampa.
Tons of ice time.
Yeah, and he's just skilled. A scoring machine. That's what he's there to do for sure. So he's been pretty safe the past couple of years. I don't foresee him going anywhere. We'll stop there.
Watching Nashville and the Detroit Red Wings on Saturday in Nashville. Detroit, like DeBrincat, Kane, Larkin's good player. Wow, first time I ever watched him live. Lucas Raymond, getting a little greasy in there. But that DeBrincat and Kane together, they're so skilled. I remember watching them play Arizona in Glendale the last year before they moved to Mullet Arena, and it was the Hawks and Coyotes in a nothing game in April. Both teams weren't going anywhere. Like they probably golfed right before and went to the rink. And it was Taves, Kane, and DeBrincat for the Hawks. At the end of warm-up, they kept in the backup goalie, and they did a shootout.
Come on. That's fantastic.
And everybody is just like, what are we watching here? And it was, I think it was Taves that ended up winning it. They went a couple of rounds into...
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was so cool because like tickets were like $7 to just get in the building and kind of sit wherever. And then the next night, Ovechkin and the Caps were there. So watch that warm up. Oh, does he...
All business.
Does he take one-timers?
Have you ever seen his curve?
No.
Yeah, it's a beauty stick. It's built for the one-timer.
How stiff would it be?
Well, it actually, I don't think it's his blade and how it's toe open, but then the heel is a bit more closed, so he can just roll that wrist over, and that blade is just whipping right through it. So it's a good setup. He knows where his moneymaker is. I showed you the new addition to the SportsCage studio last week, the Easton Pro Balance Extra Stiff HXP 5100, the old aluminum. Yeah, 6 pounds.
Is it heavy? My question is, why aren't defensemen using some sort of model like that? Guys that aren't out there to score goals, like those, you don't want that in the back, in the ribs. No. Remember in the tricep?
Yeah.
Like the worst. And then you would do so much damage on other sticks.
Yeah, stick on stick, you're going through it every time. My bigger question is, when those things came out, how were we 12 years old and allowed to carry around a blowtorch in our hockey bag so we could get into the locker room, fire it up, and change the blade?
Just the kid that had the blowtorch in his bag.
MVP.
Yeah. And then there was always the one dad that went next level, and he had a heat gun.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
When the heat gun became on, and then how many were getting bent behind doors. And I remember the old Al Ritchie Arena had the best doors because they were nice and stiff, and you get your stick in between the jam and curve that thing right up.
The smell, you always
of all the glue. Yeah.
You always knew. There was the heat gun. I had a buddy, his dad like finished cabinets or something, and he brought this heat gun that was like next level. But yeah, I didn't even think about the old blowtorch in the bag.
Just carrying it around.
10, 11-year-old kids firing up a blowtorch, going, what was it, cages and gloves, cage rage in the room.
Yeah.
That really got frowned upon a few years ago.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, times have changed for sure.
That's how we all learned to throw our first or take our first few punches. It was still a few minutes to get in for SaskTel Pick the Score. I know I didn't mention it a ton today, kind of strategically. What is the score against the Stamps on Saturday? 936-6262. You can text in. We need your name, number, and where you're from, and obviously the score you want. Colson's going to award someone with 2 tickets in the next 3 minutes here as he spins his wheel of winning. We won't be back on before the game. What do you think? What do you think happens Montreal and Winnipeg?
Well, yeah, if you push me on it, I think Winnipeg goes in there and wins. I really do, and I think just even going back to what Double says, I just question what type of team Montreal's going to field. Their focus is not Winnipeg this week. They'll come out and say all the right things and say we're preparing to win because that's what professional athletes do.
Yeah.
And the guys that take the field will, but I will be a little bit surprised if they don't rest some of their guys, either being not even on the roster or whether it's in game with some safe packages and things like that. That's what my gut tells me. I sure am hoping that Montreal can hold it together and maybe pick off a few of Zach's passes and score some touchdowns. But that Alexander quarterback, he's no slouch either for Montreal. So even if he's in there, it doesn't mean that they're just lying down. But unfortunately, that's what my gut tells me. I'm hoping that it's the opposite way, and Mosaic will be rocking Saturday night if that's the case.
And very curious. And on the Riders' side, then if Montreal doesn't win, then what happens on the Riders' side? Like is it Shea Patterson, maybe a little bit of Harris, maybe Cohn goes in.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trevor not at all if that was the case.
Fun 2 hours. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me as always.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Sports.
On Monday, the show is for Kellen Solar, 35 years experience moving water from a dugout or well without electricity. Visit kellensolar.com to find out more for your livestock operation, or if you just need solar for residential or commercial buildings. Still an hour in the Harvard Media Auction as well. Get in there and bid. There's some great deals to be had. I am back tomorrow with Chris Harris full show lineup. Riders are back on the practice field as well. Curtis Colson, thanks so much again. RP, thanks to you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.